Okay, guys. I don't know what's wrong. I think Gabriel now tries to reconnect. So, yeah. Let's wait a second. Let's wait a second. He's reconnecting. So, and he tries to join by phone. So let's see if that works.
Okay, ahora sí, ya estamos.
There it works.
Yo.
Great.
Whoa, I'm so sorry, dude. We should have just done it through the cell phone.
Finally. It's okay, but I think guys don't know about this stream now because this is now not the real one. But anyways, great to see you finally.
I know, man. I'm so sorry, man. Good to see you as well, Matthias.
How are you doing? Are you stressed now? It's like
I'm a little, but no, I'm good now that it's working. I'm calm. So yeah,
ah, that's great. Okay, let me
yeah. I'm here.
just
I'm
put
here
you
with my
there.
cat. Look at my cat.
Okay, you know what? I'm gonna make a little post that we are now online on YouTube.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, great. So we played some of your tracks while we were waiting. Have you heard that? Did you
I
hear
heard. I was listening to everything you were saying, like the whole time. I could read the comments. And for some reason, it just didn't go through. And I checked, the settings on the computer, on the internet browser, and it just didn't. It just didn't do
Anyway, we
it.
fixed it. So
Yeah, we're good.
yeah, great to have you here. And yeah, let's talk a little bit about your music because I wrote a little review of your first album, right?
Yes,
Um, and I really
yes.
liked it. So what I really like about your music, you sent me these pictures of you, and there's a
Uh
lot
huh.
of gear and there's um, a lot of cables and stuff, and I really like that. So what is your you sent me this little bio of your own, and it says that you like with working with analog stuff and tapes and Walkmans and stuff. How does it come, or where does it come from?
um, yeah, like I kind of with music production, or I just started using those formats uh, a little over a year ago. And how did I come about it? Was with a friend of mine, Obed. He sold me his 4-track um, machine, and from there he just showed me a few things with the cassettes and the cassette loops, and I was just blown away by the results. It just really caught my attention. And but right before I started working with um, analog equipment, um, we grew up with cassettes, and I think you grew up with cassettes as well, or there was cassettes, CDs.
Yeah.
So coming back to um, those formats was just kind of, I don't know, natural in a sense. It just felt natural to me to start working with those formats again, with cassettes, with reel to reels, which I haven't released anything, but I've been working on some stuff with reels and stuff, micro cassettes, even CDs and CD players and stuff like that. So I don't know. It just kind of triggered something when Obed sold me his 4 track.
Hmm.
It was a Fostex 4 track. So yeah, I don't know. I just started experimenting and making loops and just doing weird stuff and I just kind of got hooked on it again, I guess.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So
Mhm.
I have a tape deck here. I have a
Mhm.
dealer here in my local area, and this dealer deals with tape decks from Japan, I think. And
Oh,
he's really strange. I met him once, and I bought a tape deck because my
mhm.
idea was to route my audio into the tape deck, record it, and then sample it back before I give it to
Right.
my master or whatever. And
Mhm.
that was strange. His whole apartment was filled under the roof with tape decks. And
Wow.
I bought one, and I I have a plugin that is called RC20 or so that simulates like tape noises and vinyl crackles and stuff. But when
Okay.
I compare it to mangling the sound with the tape deck, that's so different. Even it sounds a little similar. Um, yeah, I think that's a pretty nice way to mangle sounds and to make it a little warmer or something. Um, but
Yes.
how do you use CDs for it? Do you sample your sounds from CDs or do you burn it or how do you use that?
With CDs, I haven't I haven't released anything that I've been working on. But with CDs, there's you could scratch them. You could record a track and just scratch it, with a little bit of sandpaper, or just kind of damage the CD in a sense. Maybe even burn it. I haven't burnt it yet because I don't want to ruin the CD players that I have. But you could do. You could like Heimbach, for example. He did something very interesting with a mini disc. He recorded a bunch of samples, like just one shots, I think, and just short samples. I don't remember
Hmm.
how exactly the type of samples, but he just recorded burned a bunch of them to mini disc and just had them in random loop,
Hmm.
and then he would process them and stuff like that. So that's also a way you could do it. Just it depends on what you put on the CD, and what I want to do, what I've been doing is just like damaging the CD, and then that's the idea, to damage it and then put it back, and then all the jumps and the scratches, and
That is
then
cool.
filter that. Maybe yeah, maybe hook it up to the you know Octatrack or something, and then do some stuff on it. There's so many stuff possibilities you could do with damaging uh, stuff,
That's
and then process.
funny. There is
Hmm.
I often see on Instagram, I often see little videos from artists. They use tape decks, and then they pull out the tape, and then it runs around something. So like here, I have the pen, and then the tape deck runs around here. And
Hmm.
I often ask them, does it really work or and then they always tell me no, that's just decoration. It's just to give this video a nice look.
Oh,
Yeah, that always thought that was a little strange,
well,
I think.
that's that's I mean, I think anybody could do whatever they want with their music and visual stuff, but I'm also doing some of the open tape loops, which is that basically. Some people do them long, some people do them short, but the stuff I've been doing with open tape loop has music. I mean, you could make it work. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, if it's running through the tape machine, and if it's like even if it's like a long loop going through pans and bottles, if it's running and if a tape deck's making it run, you could put music on that. Easy, I mean, but, naturally. So I mean, but some people use it for decoration. Hey, I've seen
Yeah,
art
yeah,
installations. I've seen art installations where they have, running through canvas, a few different canvases, the tapes, and with some weird minimal design, and you know, it's it's just as visual. That's the beauty of it. I think that it's just as visual as it is musical. Um, so it could be approached in very, different ways, not just your conventional way of. I mean, conventional in your own sense and personal sense. My personal sense.
yeah. So talking about visuals and art and stuff, what I really liked, I think we met when you came into the Petit Victory Collective, right? And then we started talking and stuff. And
Yes,
what I always liked about was your visual appearance as well. And I think we talked about that once because I was about to delete my complete Instagram account.
yes,
And we talked about that, right? And
I remember.
yeah, I remember that too. And I was always like when I watch your clips or your videos and stuff, that it's like a unit. So there's like a nice concept behind and stuff. What is your approach, or does it come naturally to you, or do you create a concept before? Because you told me that you deleted a lot of stuff when you started with your newer music, as far as I remember. So
Yes.
what is your idea of that? Because many
Uh,
artists, they don't think about that so much, is my impression.
yeah. It's. I do remember when we talked back in June or July. It was when Guillaume Atlas Castle, he um, graciously accepted my petition to join the collective. Um, and that's when I met you. I got to listen to your music, and I pretty much listened to everybody's music. So it was cool. And yeah, what you're saying about the visual part, um, it is. I think it when I had bands in the past. Like right now, I'm just doing my solo work, just working, with friends, collabs and stuff like that. But it's just myself. But having the experience of being with bands and having to figure out, what visual, sense to give the music and stuff. I mean, that was one way I used to approach it. Like, all right, music, and then put something visual to it. But now it's like, learning from that experience and how it didn't really, you know, pan out. I had to think about it in a different sense, and I didn't really dwell too much. I just kind of let things happen, and I paid attention to that, obviously. And what I mean by that is that, like, I do photography and I do video, and I'm constantly documenting, you know, my surroundings, my situations, just stuff that I like. I've been
Hmm.
doing that as a child. I started. Um, I picked up the camera the first time, I think, like a video camera back in '97, I believe, and I started editing in like '99 or in 2000. So, and it was through skateboarding that I started, documenting a lot. It's kind of goes hand in hand, with skateboarding. You want to record video,
Hmm.
and so back then we had cameras. We didn't have cell phones with, how it is right now. I'm talking to you, which is beautiful. It is
Yeah.
beautiful. But it's, you know, I've always had a camera around me. So, and even when I was going with the bands and, my whole life, I always, documented. And as far as conceptualizing, um, like, for example, like an album, which is what, a musician, if he has an album, the whole deal. You have the checklist. You got to do this, and I tried that checklist, and what I'm doing now is just paying attention to what's happening while I'm making the album, for example, or a song, or Like for example, Collection of Choices. It was I made that album within an 8 month period, I think, from starting to record it to releasing it through Petit back in August. It was like 8 month period or something. So instead of like thinking like, oh, I'm gonna, read a book or watch a movie and think about like concepts, I was like, no, like, what did I do those 8 months besides making this album, which is, you know, the, my one of the outlets, for example. So it just it spawns from the music itself, but it's literally just what's happening around me,
Hmm.
and I'm documenting it. And I that's pretty much it. Like with Collection of Choices, that was an 8 month period. Everything that comes out visually is in that 8 month period that was documented, like the music and the process of recording, mixing, mastering, all that.
Yeah.
It just goes hand in hand. And when I saw that, I was like, man, well, why didn't I, pay attention a long time ago? I was distracted. So yeah, that's what I do now. Hmm.
That's pretty nice. So you sent me some of your music tracks. I would like to play one of your latest release. It's Focus Failure. Um, and it's 3 tracks. It's like an EP, right? And
Yeah.
I played this dog party before, so when you haven't been there, um, and I gonna play Half Step. Can you say some words about this EP?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Focus Failure is a EP that I started working on back in early 2019. It was when I started working on that album. Like the earliest recording is probably around January, February of 2019, and that album is basically my transition, quote unquote, into electronic music. As far as producing and trying to make it like now, like a conscious effort, you know, to say that was a result. Because, like I said, I used to be in bands. I was making like I grew up more in a rock and roll, like not necessarily rock, but yeah, very rock and roll, classic rock, you know, classical music, stuff like that. So I started listening to electronic music maybe 10 years ago, roughly, like paying attention to good electronic music through a friend of mine. She, put me onto this, just a whole different world of electronic music, like Ricardo Villalobos, Fortet, Burial, just, the classics, but coming from a rock and roll thing, when she brought me this kind of different music, I was like, wow, this is really electronic. This is, what I'm talking about. Um, so that was 2012, and then until 2019 is when I started making it because um, I don't know. I think just the natural process of listening to it. It's not like I would listen to it and then I try to do it immediately. It just doesn't work like that for me. So Focus Failure was basically my transition into electronic music. I recorded it with only the Electribe. It's the Korg Electribe. It's a workstation, and it was the only thing I had as far as a synthesizer. And I was starting to use Ableton, so I was like, man, I don't. This is what I have. This is what I'm gonna do it with. So about 80% or 70% of that album, the sounds come from the Korg Electribe. Some
Hmm.
process, some. The rest are guitars, vocals, samples, a lot of field recordings. I started doing field recordings back in 2015, and with this album, I just started getting crazier with recording, um, just just I don't know everything, basically everything. I had the recorder on me, the DR40 from Tascam. I think you have it or had it before you upgraded. Um, that's the one I use, and I just had it with me, and that album is packed with all the I think about 80% of all the sounds, like well, of the samples, field recordings are the DR40,
Hmm.
like easily. So yeah, I don't know. I recorded that album like in a year, and then I mixed it another year. I learned how to mixing that album. I don't know if it's a good mix, but it works for my music, so it's I'm very satisfied with the outcome. And then my mastering, my friend Rodrigo Barquera from Mexico City, he does mastering for me. I send all my work, collection of choices, all the songs that I sent you that you might play. He masters everything except one song that I did with Atlas Castle. Atlas mastered it with Dan Fur.
Hmm.
But other than that, everything my good friend from Mexico City at Laudano Studios masters it. So and I could work with him like back and forth. Like uh, he understands my process and he's very supportive. So like if there's something wrong with my mix, he'll tell me like immediately, and I'll fix it. And I'll send him a new bounce, and then if he
Yeah,
sends me,
that's important.
master, he's very flexible and he has a lot of patience with me. So um, I owe him greatly for making my music, enhancing it, the way he does. Um, but yeah, basically, Focus Failure is the transition of me into electronic music. I packed the songs, maybe like Dog Party has like 70 tracks, like not exaggerating. Um, Half Step, this one has about like a good 60, 70 like tracks. Like literally, like I sent the Half Step to get remixed by friends of mine, like a
Oh,
few
cool.
friends.
Will you
And
release it?
yeah, I'm gonna release the remixes. A lot of people, when I sent them the album, they're like, "Hey," I'm like, "Choose whichever song," and everybody ended up picking Half Step. So it was like, cool. So I just have to export,
I thought Half Step was
one.
my favorite too.
Cool, man.
So
Yeah, I
let's
like it. I like it as well. So
let's listen.
yeah,
A couple of
yeah,
minutes.
Les voy a dar
cool.
una bendición. Yo no, Jesús de Nazaret, dice así.
I really would like to remix this track as well.
Amatis.
Uh,
Again. Amo. Amo. mana la vida. El último dice así: Señor, enséñanos de tal modo a contar nuestros días que traigamos a nuestro corazón sabiduría. Amén, aleluya, gloria a Dios. Ahora, señores y señoras, hermanas y hermanos, les voy a dar una bendición. Yo no, Jesús de Nazaret dice así: ahora que el Dios Padre y Jesucristo Hijo derrame de su gracia sobre cada uno de nosotros y el Espíritu Santo nos dé paz. El Espíritu Santo nos dé paz en verdad y en amor. Amén, aleluya, gloria a Dios. Dios les bendiga a cada uno de ustedes.
Okay, guys.
I can listen.
I turned us on because people are confused. Because I turned our microphones off, so we can only hear the music. There was a reason why I turned this off. I don't want to play the music as a background track or something. So yeah, that was Half Step from your EP Focus Failure. Super cool sounds that you used. We just talked about that. Yeah, show us again the cat. She's so cute. Oh, yeah, I really love cats. Hey, I have another question regarding your gear. I like music making with hardware, so I don't use my computer anymore for that. Beside the Korg, what else do you use for making sounds and stuff? Do you use a lot of field recordings and stuff like that? Like a recorder and you go out and you listen to the environment. You said you are capturing your everyday life and stuff. I think that plays a big part in your productions, right?
Yes. Yeah, field recordings are a big part of my documentation process. So, it just gives you a different approach, when you adapt the field recording into music, into musical context. So, I just started getting hooked on that. I was, recording just everything, just being on public transportation and just recording all the stuff that goes on. And then once I started putting that into Ableton Live, and just, messing with it and enhancing it or, making it more dirty or gritty. So I just started getting hooked on that. And I don't know, it's just a part of what I do since about 2016, 15. Because when I started recording, I would record, basic stuff, like, I don't even want to mention, but after like a year, and I started understanding what I wanted to document. So it's been fun, and it's been a weird, very, very enlightening, I could say, process, because it just gives me a different approach, to making music, I guess, you don't have to necessarily think about it in a musical sense. Um, and that's what I really fell in love with. Starting a song or an idea from a field recording of me and on the bus or something. It was like, whoa, like, with the stereo field, and you start, mixing with, Ableton, and just it became very refreshing to
Mm-hmm.
to not think about music and like scales, chords, beats, or just environment, and then from there just things start taking off. It might end up being a house track or a techno or ambient or noise, but just I wouldn't necessarily say freedom, but just it's just an open space. Like there's nothing telling you where to go, so you could go anywhere, and that's what I love about field recordings and stuff like that.
I do a lot of field recordings too. So I usually use my field recorder more like people have their camera with them, so when they are going on holiday and stuff, and I have like my field recorder and I take snapshots of my environment like others do pictures. I do pictures too, but I use it more like an album or like a sonic yeah, like a sonic sound album or something. And then I pick out some of the sounds and I make some music with that. So and at each time I hear it, it reminds me of the situation. So I was like some month ago, I was in Greece and I was on a monastery, and there was a waterfall or something, and I recorded that, and even this water sounds like 1 million other samples from water. It still reminds me of the situation when I was there, and the temperature, and the people around me and stuff. So I think these field recordings can make productions pretty personal or pretty sensible, or no, not sensible, well, touching or something like that. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of what you do, Matthias, with with the music, and the visual stuff, and I could definitely agree with you on that, and it's something that's actually very important, and it's cool that you pointed it out, like the like going back to that specific moment, like where, for example, you're recording that monastery, but when you listen to that little snippet or whatever that ends up on the song, you automatically go back to that instant where you're like standing there like a like a statue or something. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I think that part of sound, as like the power of going reminiscing and memory, I think it's something that I cherish as well, and it's not something that not everybody's gonna understand. Like, you're not gonna go in. I mean, you can, but it's not what I would do. But it gives it a personal. It just enriches the situation. And yeah,
Completely,
thanks for
yeah.
pointing that out.
Completely. So when I started this whole DAW stuff, so I got my Digitakt I think 2 years ago or so. So we went into this fucking first lockdown, and I had so much time that I bought Digitakt and started performing and stuff, because I made music with Ableton before, so like progressive house, and I know I can do that. So I can make pretty good sounding stuff with Ableton only, but I always thought they sound so generous or so perfect, or they sounded like 1 million other producers can do it with Ableton too. There was nothing special with these. And I thought that field recordings can make the sound very, they can give you like a signature if you want to call it like that, or you can add some personal spice with it. So I think um, field recordings and making mistakes is yeah, that was I was looking for, and so I can relate to this field recording stuff in a way, that it makes your music so much yeah, more interesting or more personal, I think.
I think it opens up the spectrum like automatically, like especially if it's like a stereo field recording or and there's stereo like clear stereo like a stereo situation. It just automatically gives just opens up the song and I don't know how to explain it, but
Yeah. I have something I want to talk about, and that is your performances. I saw that you did some live performances with your music. What is your idea? Do you connect with the audience in a way, or do you just want to have fun, or what is your idea of performing, or your goal, or whatever?
uh yeah, performing is probably, I mean, for me it's, I think it's the most satisfying part of the whole music process for me. As I mean, um, I think that's the thing that I got addicted to when I was, started performing with my bands, my previous, bands, and yeah, I don't know. I think the performance is like the peak of, you know, my musical situation. At least for now, it is. I mean, maybe in a couple of years, I won't care for it, but well, that being said, I don't know, like I don't know. I've never been like a very, I don't know how to explain it. Like maybe I'm more of an introvert kind of personality. So like as far as connecting with the audience, like with visual contact and like hey or you know I don't. That's not what I kind of naturally. I don't do that, but I definitely connect with with the situation and a performance and a more uh, with you know energy with the energy and stuff. So I don't really look at people like when I perform, but I do feel what's going on, and depending on what's going on, if it's like if right now I'm performing with the octatrack, and there's some situations where I could improvise and extend certain parts, and there's some parts where they have to be like a certain length. So just depends on the situation, like oh shit, sorry, the camera. It just depends on the situation. Like I enjoy it so much, and I disconnect from everything, but at the same time, I'm still here. But it's something that I don't know. I like it a lot, and I wish I could do it more often. But with the whole COVID situation, I'm not trying to. I'm avoiding it as much as possible.
Yeah, it's difficult,
So
huh?
yeah,
Actually, I when I bought the Digitakt, one of my goals was to perform in front of audiences one day.
yeah,
But yeah, as you said, because of COVID, it never happened. But last year in November, I invited a bunch of friends, and I had a little private concert at my place. And
I
my
saw that.
idea, you saw that? And my idea was to um, when I perform, I had the idea to connect with my audience and to interact with their mood or whatever. Okay, this little concert was super small. There were maybe 8 people or something. So, but
That's cool.
still people were listening. But
Of
what I
course.
realized is you just said that too, that while I was performing, I was completely in my own world. I didn't even what looked at the audience, what they do, and then when I watched it later, a friend of mine recorded this performance, and I was surprised about myself because I was really okay. You have to take care about your machines, and you have to think about the arrangements and how does it work, and don't make mistakes and everything. But I was still surprised how less I was connect. Well, I was connected to the audience, but not in the way that I was um, looking for, maybe. So that was pretty interesting, and I do that again in 2 weeks. Oh no, in 4 weeks. I will stream that live. So
Yes,
I really
stream it.
like this live performance aspect of everything, and I always follow those discussions also on Discord about streaming and getting plays on playlists and stuff. But actually, I totally disconnected of this. So of course, I put my music on Spotify, but I think it's much more interesting to do something live that is much more of my goal, to be honest. So I thought that was very interesting when I browsed your profile again, and see that you did that as well.
It's definitely one of the it's I could say it's the drug that I'm looking for performing. But it's I think what gets weird is, or what I've been figuring out, throughout the years is, that expectation of a performer. You have to, like, oh, yo, what up, be that person talking, and I don't know. I think that people shove that, or the business, or whatever you want to call it, the industry shoves that image of a performance of, like, that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to connect and talk and, like, make people laugh. It's like, I don't know. It wasn't my deal. So I figured out that as long as I enjoy the performance, I know I'm gonna be, performing, naturally, and that's why you rehearse. That's why you practice. So you practice relentlessly, so you could just perform, and everybody has their way of performing. So my way that I discovered was, that I enjoyed it the most is by completely disconnecting from everything. Like, I knew I had, and when I played in bands, I knew I had my bandmates with me, and we were all good. We didn't even have to look at each other. We didn't even talk. So I think as long as you enjoy yourself performing, and it's I think that's what a good performance, ends up being, a natural performance, and if someone enjoys talking, well, they could talk. Like, I saw Godspeed. It's a post-rock band. Godspeed, I think they're Canadian. Yeah, I think. Not sure. But I saw them in 2018, and one of the most beautiful shows ever I've seen. And they got on stage, and they walked off stage, and they didn't say a word. I thought that was the most amazing thing. I said, yeah. So.
You liked it. Hey, you know what? Let's play one more of your tracks. There is one in the list that's Running Water. Is that taken? Because I haven't seen that on one of your PVC releases. Is that something else, or is that like a separate release?
That's actually, that came out in the Petite Victories second compilation.
Yeah, in the compilation. Okay.
Yeah, I think you got the ice side. I ended on the water side. And that's the song that I made for that compilation.
Yeah, that's true. Let's have a listen.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna leave our microphones on now, so otherwise people will be worried when they see us talking and stuff.
No worries. Let's keep it open.
to go on. It's a super nice track. Running Water from Gabriel and Mora. Um, Gabriel, I when I listened to your album, um, the first one, um, I thought that they had a similar atmosphere than Running Water, a collection of choices. Um,
Yeah.
is that from the same production phase or from the same production era or something?
Um. No, that was right almost afterwards. When Guillaume said we were doing this compilation, so it was like maybe 2 months afterwards. But I don't know. Yeah, I guess I never thought of it, but yeah, there's like a certain similarity between those, that collection and Running Water.
Yeah, that's super nice. There was a
Hmm.
question from Thierry, Obscure Sounds. Do you use granular synthesis?
No, unfortunately, I'm just maybe a few months ago, my good friend Rodrigo Barquera, who does the mastering for my music, he told me about granular synthesis that he's been doing, and I was like, what is that? So yeah, I've never done any granular synthesis on my music, so, and yeah, I actually just found out about it a few months ago.
Maybe something for your next release. What are you currently working on?
Uh, right. Well, it's weird because like it's like a stove with different like pots and pans and all cooking, and some are slow burning, some are in a medium simmer, and some are but I'm working on a few things at the moment, but what I'm focused on is releasing all the stuff that's in the back burner, like that I've been not in the back burner. That's not the right term. Those songs that you start and then a year goes by and you don't finish them. 2 years go by, 3 years. Well, I'm grabbing all those songs and I'm finishing them and just catching up. I'm not gonna do any like new releases per se, but I'm gonna be releasing a bunch of um, like I'm gonna release, for example, a collection of choices is gonna be released, a live version of that album, and that's what I sent Guillaume back in June when I asked him to join you guys, and I ended up doing a studio version of that live situation. So I'm gonna release it now. Um, I'm gonna release it in probably April, which is a year later, and it's the live performance, the video, and everything. But I'm just pretty much catching up with work from like 2, 3 years ago,
That is
basically.
cool. I never can do that. So when I go through my hard disk and I sometimes I'm uncreative and then I think, okay, let's check my previous stuff that is on my hard disk. I think like tracks I did 3 years ago, I rarely would like to finish them. It seems to me like it's too old and my skills they developed so fast. Um, I did that once, I think last year, but I rarely do that. So
Yeah,
congratulations
it's
to that.
yeah, it's something that I had to like actually sit down and think about because it happened. It's been happening all my life with my other music projects. When I used to skateboard, I left a bunch of stuff undone and unfinished, and I didn't want this to happen again because at least the songs I'm rescuing or I'm focusing on, finishing. Uh, I can agree with you. Like within a month, you start doing something different, and then 2 months go by, and it's something different, and you look back and you're like, I don't want to, I could do other stuff. I think that's a natural process of, you know, everybody has that certain details. But what I wanted to do with these songs is break that cycle. At least for me, it was like, dude, I gotta like I'm not doing that music again. I'm not doing none of that stuff. But it was something that I cherished in a certain moment. That's why it's there, and that's what focus failure is actually. And I haven't really talked about focus failure in that way because I don't want to like bombard people with meanings and stuff about my albums. But focus failure was that's when I decided to do this because I was about to toss that album out the window, like straight up. I started working out of I got away from Ableton. I started doing more hardware stuff, and obviously the music is way different, and it's a whole nother situation.
Mm-hmm.
So Focus Failure was one of the albums that I was going to toss out the window. So that's when I said, no, man, wait, listen, like that's a certain time period of your life. Let's see what we could do with it, and just put it out and closure, and that's it. And then from there, from that idea is when I started thinking about rescuing all these other tracks from that time period. So I'm not going to release anything new. I'm just going to be releasing recycled and just catching up, because it's hard, man, to be like, I don't know, this whole like, I don't know, this thing that the situation that we have to like be there, like be on the grid, be on Instagram, be on social media, like grinding it. I mean, that's cool. Everybody does that, but I got tired of it, and I just figured out I have to do things my own way to actually enjoy the whole process, because I wasn't enjoying things when I was in my band fully, because I was, doing things under, I was doing things my way, but under a different formula other than mine, which it sucks. So yeah, I'm just trying to do things my way, and right now I'm just gonna release all my old stuff while I work on new stuff. Yeah.
I like that. So this whole Instagram stuff is something I got blocked from Facebook. So I put a lot of work and money to build up my Facebook community 2 years ago, and then suddenly my account got blocked from somebody, and then I never got it back from Facebook because I didn't give them my phone number. So you don't get this fucking code to 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 get your account back.
Yeah.
And then I started to look out for something else, and I started to hate Facebook and Instagram, and I know you have to be there to get a little exposure and stuff, but I'm not focusing on that anymore. And as you said, I got tired of following this grid and constantly pushing something out and constantly being active there, and it takes away a lot of energy for what I really like to do, and that is music making.
Exactly.
And I mean, I like to do streams and stuff, and I like to invite people and to talk to them like we do right now. But
Thank you.
still, this whole social media, it's a love-hate situation, I think. I mean, I connect to people that I never met before. I discover music and artists that I couldn't discover without social media. But on the other hand, it's really tiring, and to be a slave of the algorithm. That also applies to Spotify, in my opinion. That artists constantly release something to create a constant stream of new material to feed the algorithm, actually. And yeah, I'm pretty critical with those developments and how people and how artists change, and also the quality changing from what they
Yeah.
do. So yeah, because they don't take time that they did before, or like 20 years ago. So yeah, that changed a lot.
It's very, it's a delicate subject, I think, and it's very personal. I think everybody does it their own way,
Yeah.
uh, and it's fine. I mean, they at the end of the day, they're tools. Social media for me is a tool. It's and it just depends on what you use that tool for. And I don't know. It's very refreshing, I could say, to not feel that pressure anymore. And it wasn't like a pressure, but it's like
Yeah,
you
it is
think you have
pressure.
to do stuff. You think you have to do stuff. It's like, I mean, you do, but that's on your own terms. And as far as, for example, you mentioned Spotify. Like I don't really use Spotify, but I do, but I don't. But it's like I'm not. I see it as a tool as well. I see Instagram as a tool. I see Facebook, all that, Twitter. Um, it just in my case, it's like, okay, where do I want to exist virtually? I can't exist everywhere. Um, as far as social media, like Twitter, TikTok, Twitch, all that stuff. Like, whoa, Facebook, Instagram, one. I'll do Instagram, and that's it. And then we'll see you from there because it's too much time. Like, if you're trying to be everywhere, it's too much time, and I'm not up for it. And Spotify, like, I don't agree with their policy or with their work ethics, for example. But I mean, I have a choice to not be there, but I know that everybody in the world uses Spotify, so my stuff is on Spotify. Like,
Yeah, that's true.
probably like, I don't know, 2 people listen to my stuff on Spotify.
Two.
Maybe me and like my mom, but I'm there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool. So I'm there. It's like for whoever uses it. Like BANDCAMP, I think BANDCAMP is a beautiful community. The
Yeah.
way they have built that service as a community, but I don't understand the interface. Like, it's so hard to find music. So I don't use Bandcamp to listen to music, but I know a lot of people do. So my stuff is on Bandcamp. You know what I mean? I know
Mm,
YouTube. I use YouTube, so my stuff is on YouTube, and that's about it. Like, I
yeah.
don't.
I
As
could
long as
talk
it's like a
really,
match.
I could talk for hours, Gabriel, but I have to close down for today.
Okay, man.
It was a
Thank
really
you.
interesting to meet you, finally, after we had some problems. Guys, sorry. And everyone who switched to this new stream, thanks for joining. I hope you enjoyed this little insight. Thank you, Gabriel. That was very interesting to talk to you and to listen to some of your music. And thanks for taking your time. And I hope we see us soon again on our social media channels or wherever we are.
We'll be in touch. And thanks everybody for tuning in. And Matthias, thank you for the invitation. It was a
My
pleasure.
pleasure. It was a pleasure to have you there. And we see us very soon, guys, on YouTube or whatever. I wish you a nice evening or a nice day. I think in Mexico it's like 1 or 1:30
Yeah.
p.m. So enjoy the rest of your day. And yeah, see you soon, guys. Thanks for joining. Bye.